We finally have new information from the upcoming Vocation Rebalance. In this video, we'll break down what we know so far. But please keep in mind, none of this is set in stone yet. They are receiving feedback until January 29, and then we should be getting a test server in February with more room for changes. With that said, we do get an idea of their goal with this rebalance, and it points towards reverting vocations back to the traditional roles. So let's cover what they're planning, starting with the general changes. First one is the reduction of the size by one of all AoE runes. This might end up looking like this, and it could end up being a big change for solo mages hunts and team hunts. Perhaps to mitigate some of that loss, everyone is getting 20% increased attack value from the combat modes being removed, with shields and spells also giving a bit more defense. For reference, and I could be wrong, with a level 417 EK with only Falcon Sword equipped, my attack value sits at 393 with 47 coming from the combat tactics. So with that removed, I will be at 346, then applying the 20% will put me at 415 attack value, so a bit over 5% damage improvement. Then doing the same on my main 1400 EK, my attack value will go from 622 to 679, a little bit over 9% damage improvement. Lastly, changes to potions, introducing 3 new ones, superior manas that can be used by anyone but EKs, which heals between grades and ultimates, and additionally 2 potions to be used by everyone, one that matches superior and another that matches ultimates in healing. These cost the double, but gives the option to everyone to use the best option if needed. For mages, this doesn't improve anything, only provides the option to use superior manas for less cost than ultimates if you're not in need of using ultis. Moving on to the specific vocation changes, starting with knights, with access to grey mana potions and the new universal superior potion. Also the introduction of stances that will work like the monk's version, and this is replacing the Utilo and Utamo spells. Now you can be permanently on either stance and get the respective benefits, which removes the need of casting the Utilo in your rotation, saving mana and giving an extra turn for other actions. Also self-healing is getting improved, starting with the main 3 healing spells and changing cooldowns from 1 to 2 seconds. And with that, they will scale much better off magic level and now shielding skill, resulting in more than 2 to 3 times the heal depending on the skills. Next up is 2 new defensive spells. First one having damage scale with the defense stats on the shields instead of weapon attack, and the second making targets attack miss their next auto attack. Lastly, the augment of front sweep will give a significant greater life leech, and the battle healing perk is getting reworked to increase healing from all spells, with triple the effects if wearing a shield. As an EK main, I'm not hype about these changes. They are clearly more quality of life than anything else, but I feel like it could have been part of a regular update instead. And even though the healing changes might improve survivability on solo hunts, it's likely not the case for team hunts, with the changes sorcerers are getting, on top of the many issues the case have not been addressed. And I will be more inclined to complain about the lack of damage output for AKs, but these changes clearly show their intention is for Knights to be a proper tank, so at least for now, it's very disappointing to me. Now moving on to Paladins, first up 2 big nerfs. AoE arrows attacks will only trigger charms on the creature being targeted, so effectively removing the double proc advantage of paladins and putting them in equal footing to other vocations. Secondly, Energy Ring will now consume 3 times the damage you take, effectively draining 300 mana for 100 damage taken when wearing it. Sharpshooter and Swiftfoot will be receiving the current perks exclusive to the wheel, effectively making both of them stronger spells as a base level. And their slots in the wheel are getting replaced to improve the 2 new spells, Ethereal Barrage, an AoE spell that does physical damage and scales of distance skill and magic level, and Divine Barrage, an AoE spell that does holy damage and scales of magic level. As of right now, we don't know the radius of these spells or the base damage. Besides these new spells, Mass Sand is receiving a 15% damage increase to its base attack, which will result in higher damage based on magic level. Additionally, Paladins are receiving 2 stances as well, an offensive one that will increase auto attack damage with double effects against creatures away from the Paladin's box, and defensive stance which will reduce the damage taken by the creatures outside of the RP's box, effectively apply on team hunts where Paladins side box to an EK. Lastly, Paladins are getting new ammunitions, a weaker version of diamond arrows for lower level Paladins. This likely sits between burst arrows and diamonds in attack, with the radius of diamond arrows, and additionally 4 elemental AoE arrows, weaker in damage to diamonds, potentially quite weaker, but with the goal of offering something against high physical resistant creatures. Overall, it seems like a big nerf to paladins. Notably, the change of the energy ring is going to make them a lot more fragile, but with the potential to be reduced to a ratio of 2 to 1 instead of 3, and the damage nerf from the charms is likely mitigated with the introduction of the new spells. And speaking of spells, let's cover the Master Sorcerer, the winners of the rebalance. Starting off with the removal of UHs, which now cannot be used on others, effectively removing the need of sorcerers as a secondary healers on team hunts. Next up, staying with the concept of stances, sorcerers are getting elemental stances for fire, energy, or death. When having one of these actives, they get a boost in damage for the matching element spells, but additionally the spell casted after a matching element will get turned into that type of damage as well. So going with our examples, being on death stance and using a death beam, and then casting Hellscore after, will make the UE deal death damage, or if done in the opposite order with different stances, casting Hellscore and then beaming will make it deal fire damage. Additionally, they also have utility stances to interact with their existing debuffs of Sap Strength and Spoke's Weakness, effectively making all of your attacks apply the debuff of the stance you're using, reducing the need of casting the current spell version. Next up is a new spell, Repeated Blast. This will be an AoE that hits an area and then repeats after 2 seconds, hitting a bigger area, seemingly of death damage type, which I am picturing similar to the totems of Jaded Roots. Also, some spells are getting improved. Strong and ultimate strikes will do higher damage with more range and same to the lightning spell. And more importantly, the introduction of the Death Beam as a regular spell, to be learned at level 66 instead of being exclusive to the wheel. And in this place, the wheel is getting some changes. The perk of Magic Shield will now improve the Repeated Blast, and because it's referenced as Death Blast, I believe that is the damage type. The perk of Sap Strength is changed to now improve special spells, reducing cooldowns and damage, perhaps intended for boss-oriented wheels rather than hunting. And Beam Mastery, instead of giving the Death Beam spell, it's going to increase the area of beams. As of right now, we don't know what it will look like, but being a Revelation perk, we can assume 4 different shapes of beams. And also the Revelation perk of Drain Body is being replaced with one that will improve the elemental stance stats. Lastly, the second perk of Focus Spell will reduce the group cooldown to 2 seconds, effectively making it possible to attack on the next turn after a new E. Next up, all wands will no longer consume mana and instead generate some, while also getting more range to them. We don't know the values, but in terms of damage, it's the same or lower to now. And lastly, a new barrier mechanic. Effectively, this is another form of Gift of Life. If you receive damage that will kill you, it will trigger and redirect the damage to your mana pool multiplied by 8. So if you have 1k HP and receive a 2k hit, you will be taking 999 hit points and 8k mana points. But if you don't have that much mana available, you will still die. Unlike other vocations, all sorcerer changes can be seen as positive buffs and improvements, hence making it the winner of the rebalance in my opinion. But close second are the druids. Following the stance theme, they will be getting different healing stances. A group version which will double the cooldown of the CO and mass rest but increase healing by 110%. A solo stance which improves self-heal by 10%, and a balanced stance which makes CO and Grand CO heal the second lowest HP ally for 30%. Besides that, spells are also being improved. Strong and ultimate strike spells are getting base damage increase and more range. Grand CO is also getting an increasement, with CO, Grand CO, and Wrath of Nature also becoming more reliable, whatever that means. Additionally, a brand new spell type, a Fork spell. This is a Druid exclusive and it hits the target and nearby creatures, perhaps similar to Chain's Penance of Monks, and this spell will come in Earth and Ice versions. On top of that, Wheel of Destiny perks are also being improved. The Healing Link perk will be increased from 10% to 25%, effectively healing yourself for 1/4 of your seals. The Revelation perk, Blessing of the Group, will apply the chance of criticals to all heal spells. And lastly, the Ice Way perk gets reworked, with lower CD on the first stage and much bigger area on the second stage. But also druids receive the same barrier mechanic of sorcerers. Effectively, this is another form of Gift of Life. If you receive damage that will kill you, it will trigger and redirect the damage to your mana pool multiplied by 8. So if you have 1k HP and receive a 2k hit, you will be taking 999 hit points and 8k mana points. But if you don't have that much mana available, you will still die or trigger the real Gift of Life. and rods will no longer consume mana, but instead generate some while also having more attack range, with damage remaining the same or lower. Overall, most of the healing improvements are a direct response to the lack of UHs from Sorcerer, so it might not be as noticeable on Team Hunts, but they are still a good quality of life, and with more flexibility on spells, it's going to be interesting to see. And to finish up with the newest vocation, Monks, starting with changes gearing towards a support vocation. Their mass res equivalent spell is no longer consuming harmony, with its cooldown being reduced and healing improved. Also, when being on the stance of justice, the buffs of Mentor Order will be applied to everyone in the party, effectively making them a big positive to have in a party. On spell changes, a new one is being added. That will be a builder spell and effectively is a diamond arrow attack for monks. Additionally, Mystic Repulse is getting a base 8-second cooldown reduction, which will be quite useful for bosses that you don't want to get close to. Next up on the Wheel of Destiny, the perk of the Gideon Presence will now share 100% of the mantra stats of the monk with the party instead of the current 50%. Sanctuary now will grant, on top of the current bonus, 10% damage and healing against creatures next to the monk. The first stage of the Mystic Repulse gets buffed from 4 seconds CD to 6 seconds, and the perks of Augment towards a sweeping takedown are being replaced by the new spell of Thousand Fist Blows. And the first stage of the Flurry Blows augment will be an increased AoE instead of the Life Leech, effectively matching the radius of the greater Flurry of Blows. These changes are looking promising to monks being more useful in party hunts, which was a big weakness for them. However, as of right now, the experience share bonus remains unchanged, with the penalty of a 5-man group still being applied, which I hope gets reconsidered. With that said, remember the Tibia forums are available for sharing feedback on these teasers, so go there and share your thoughts about it. And if you found this video helpful, consider subscribing. Thank you for watching and hope you come again.